So we've basically handled all of those three choices now. What we're now going to do is to add the ability to go back to the menu and give the user another chance to keep playing with their dog. Okay, so if they typed in either A or B, we would like to go back, give them the menu to try again. Okay, so they type in A, says munch, 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 and then they get another chance. So the way we do that is using the concept of go to that we just talked about before. What we would like to do is if they typed in A and we display munch, 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 in line 7, we would like to go back to line 1 and repeat the menu and give them another chance to type in their response. Okay, so we would like to go to line 1, and remembering the idea that we can use a label or a bookmark to indicate where we want to jump around to, we can create a label before the line we want to go to. So let's say we're going to create a label just above the menu here. We're going to call this, say, menu, remembering the full stop in front of the label name. And then here in line 8, we can then go to menu, and that will cause our code to jump back up to here. So let's step through that and see that in action. Next, 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 there's the menu. If we type in A and press enter, we check line 6, that's true. We display munch, 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 there it is. And then we go back up to line 1, and then we got the menu being displayed, and then the choice again. Okay, so let's run that at full speed and see how that works. You can feed the dog, munch, 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 and you can keep on feeding your dog. Okay, you can keep going there. And in the same way, we can do the same thing with choice B. So if they choose to pet, 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 we can then go back to the menu, and notice here we have one label, but we've got two go-tos in different parts of the code that goes back to that same label. Okay, so let's step through this again real quick. If they type in B, notice it still goes and checks whether choice is A. It's not. So it goes to line 9, checks whether it's B. Yes, it is. Pet, pet, pet. Jump back up to the and then we're back to our displays. Okay, so if we run that at full speed, you can feed the dog, munch, 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 pet the dog, pet, 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 feed the dog again, and pet the dog forever. Okay? So let's just investigate what would happen if they typed in an option that's not valid. Okay, so if we run this and they type in, say, D, what do you think would happen? Okay, so let's see. They press D, nothing happens, and then the program ends. Okay, so it's not very graceful. Okay, so if we take a look at what's going on here again, step through, okay, if they type in an invalid option D, you'll notice that it goes to line 6, checks that, that's not true, goes to line 9, checks that, not true, goes to line 12, also not true, no more lines of code, so it ends. So what that means is if it reaches line 14, it means they typed in an invalid option. So if we put in some text here that says invalid option, like that, and we run this at full speed and they type in D, then it should display invalid option. So that's how and where in our code we can detect that they've typed in something that's not valid. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of identified that you've typed in something that isn't supported. What we would like to do is give them another chance to go back up to the menu and type in another response. So let's just type that in. Please choose again. And then on line 16, the way we repeat it is just like how we repeated the code on lines 8 and line 11. We're just going to go to the menu again. Okay, so run this at full speed. D, invalid option, please choose again. And then our menu is re-displayed. So that's pretty cool. We've got 3 options here that we support and an invalid option. But at this point, there's a little bit of a problem in our code. You can see that there's no problems with the grammar or the spelling or the syntax of our code. There's something that might behave unexpectedly in a certain situation. Okay, can you spot what that is before I run it and show you? Okay, let's have a go. The problem comes up if they type in quit, C. So notice before the program worked fine when they quit. But now when they type C, it actually says, thanks for playing with me, but then it tells them that it's an invalid option, please choose again. So I'll step through and show you exactly what's going on there. step, step, step. If they type in C, line 6 is false, line 9 is false, line 12 is true. Thanks for playing with me. It will display that, but then what do you think it does next? Actually goes to line 14, which says invalid option, and goes back around the circle again. So the way we fix that is we need to have a way of ending our code right there after it displays thanks for playing with me. So I'm going to go through 2 ways you can do that. The first way is just to use a new function called quit. So the way the quit function works is when Python gets to that line of code that has the function quit, it will just stop the program. Okay, so you can see that in action here. Let's say we type C, okay, thanks for playing with me, and then you get this little red message that says system exit on line 14. So not super graceful, okay, but it does work. I'll show you what that looks like using the step function once again. Step, 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 C, okay, still checks A, still checks B, C, yes, thanks for playing with me, gets to that function, it quits, it does not go on to line 15. Okay, so that will work and that's perfectly fine, but you do get this little red message that comes up. So the alternative to quitting your program without seeing that red message is just remember that the Python program will naturally end when there are no more lines of code underneath it. So imagine that we created a label down here that says, say, end here. So we've created a label down here and notice there's no more lines of code after line 19. So anywhere in our code, if we end up on line 19, it's going to end anyway. So instead of putting quit here, what we can then do is use the goto command. We can use the goto command again, and we'll go to end here. Okay, so no longer are we just calling quit at that point. We're going to jump down here, and then there's no more lines of code, so it will end. Let's step through that very quickly. Okay, C, checks line 6, no, no, yes, thanks for playing with me. Go to end here, that will jump down to line 19. There are no more lines of code, so then the program ends gracefully without the red error message. Run that at full speed. Let's try all the options. A, feed the dog some more. Pet the dog, let's try an invalid response. Invalid option, please choose again. Another invalid response. And then C to quit. Thanks for playing with me. And then the program ends. So this has been a fairly long program, but it does actually draw upon everything that you've learned so far. You've learned how to use the print functions. We're using input. We're using variables to capture the data. We're using if statements. We're using goto. So by looking at a simple program that does a menu like this, you can see how you can draw upon everything that you've learned to put together something like this.